there are a bunch of things that you can blow.
At some point in the episode, I do want to mention tech debt or bug fixes or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Capacity.
Can we talk about how they made the game worse? Now I can't add cards to my fucking decks right after they were like, oh yeah, we're going to make the game work again.
Here's the thing with that.
Try adding a card to that deck. Try adding a card to that deck.
You literally have to wait longer. If you press and hold, watch the circle around it, the little halo. And then also when I do it a second time, you'll see why it takes so long. Watch. It's behind it, and then it happens. If I do it again, now watch it on the overlay. See how long it takes?
Dumb. That's so dumb.
Yeah.
Why would they make it take longer? Oh my God.
I don't think they intended to, but the animation.
I can tell they didn't.
The animations, because they added like the new little animation that they added.
This should honestly be like part of the podcast, because this is information I didn't know about. I'm pretty sure it's going to be interesting to other people, because it's been bugging the hell out of me.
No, because it's the same. It is the same on mobile. I was testing that last night. I was like,
horrendous on mobile.
It takes forever. You have to just literally sit there. It's faster to do the double click at this point. Just like click add to deck and click remove from deck.
I've been doing all manual add to decks. Clip this, send it to somebody. Get this done.
We'll talk bugs. Ready, good sir? You shake your head no. So how there? All right, there you go.
It was like a never wasn't.
This is true. Except for when I was like, hey, where are you? And like, oh, I'm cuddling my cat.
I don't really see the problem with that.
I said there was no problem either, but doesn't mean you were ready.
I don't know, but you said it with a lot of animus there. You were like, oh, I'm cuddling my cat. Like you said it like that's like a
because you could be like what you normally do and just bring the animal to you and keep the animal with you at all times.
The other cat doesn't do that. The other cat doesn't do that.
Oh, this is the new cat?
My older cat. Yeah, only my older cat will do that. So the new cat will only do it when like we're lying down or something like that. And she's really spoiled, so she'll go between me and my girlfriend a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But I was the only one awake, so I was the only one able to like benefit from this. And so it was a really, really good moment for me. And you reduce it to cuddling your cat.
Yes.
Spoken like you're just like every aristocratic character in every fantasy novel ever. Cuddling your cat. Yeah. Like just an edge on it,
Just a little dagger in there.
It felt unnecessary. It felt offensive even.
Then I did my job, I guess. I don't know. That's what I was going for. I don't know. But anyway, speaking of doing your job, we should do ours and talk about something that I found as a hysterical interaction, because I did cold open with it. Only because I haven't told you this, but I was having a conversation with someone who will remain nameless from Second Dinner, because we were laughing at first in regards to En Sabah Nur. And the thing, it was just something simple. It had nothing to do with the OTA. It was just something simple. It was cracking us up. But it's the card itself. Because if you actually look at like the zoom in on the card, it's just really funny to me how he's peeking over the edge. He's like, you can see the apocalypse behind him. Like, I see you.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, it's like how the Ultron drones make it look like it says Ultron.
Yes. Well, that's kind of what led into the further conversation, where I was talking about like sometimes the layering is just a little weird with the cards and whatever, because the fact that you can see En Sabah Nur's head, just like, the Apocalypse's head just kind of poking out off the top there, but it's with the borders or whatever. I was like, what's going on? So he's like, you know what? It's a great thing. Thank you for letting me know. I forwarded it over to the team. A couple of minutes later, I get a message back going, dude, this is apparently the oldest bug in the game from March of 2022, which means this was a bug self-reported by the team during beta.
That's before the beta. The first open beta season was April.
Yeah. So think that is how much tech debt they are they are dealing with all of these extra little things that add on to like making the game a better experience. It's little things like Apocalypse just kind of poking over the edge of Ensabanur, just like, hello.
Well, that's not actually the bug here for what it's worth. Like that is kind of the bug, right? But it's also happening at the bottom. Like the bug is the borders, yes?
It's the because they're for it to do its 3D animations. These are as you know, they're multiple layers. So somewhere when there's tokens, the ordering of the layers is all weird. Because that's why it happens with all of them. It happens with stones. It happens with the Ultron drones. Anything that's got 2 cards on it, the layers are all weird.
I'm a big fan of Ultron. It makes me think of like Italian Ultron. And I just think that's like a good concept. Like it just literally nothing changes about Ultron except he's like an Italian stereotype. So he's got like a pizza chef hat and like a mustache, and that's it. And that's Ultron. And there is nothing else that has changed about him in any way.
As long as he has a chef's hat, that's kind of a
he's just got like a little chef's hat and like a Mario mustache, right? And that's it.
Ultron Boyardee, just like full on.
Yeah. Is Ultron, and he makes minestrone, and that's it. That's the entire joke.
Shouldn't
I have nothing to add on to it.
Ultroni?
Well,
Ultroni.
it could be.
Yeah.
It could be, but I feel like if I do that accent, it's offensive. So I won't.
But I'm Italian, so I mean, I
right. So you can do it. Yeah.
Right.
You can take ownership of Ultroni.
Done. I will gladly take ownership of that. Yep. But you get credit, so that's fine. Where do you want to start today? Because I feel like, we had the OTA, we had the Golden Gauntlet, we had like there's so much that has kind of happened, and technically the patch, which is kind of like OTA preview part 1.
It was more impactful than the OTA. I'm gonna call that shot right now. Way more important thing happened in the patch than the OTA.
Mm-hmm. No, 100% agreed. I mean, Mysterio alone is, I'm assuming, what you're referring to, right?
Yep.
Where was the first place you started testing as soon as the new Mysterio was accessible to you?
Okay, so a little bit behind the curtain here. The first thing I thought of when that happened was it's insanely funny to be like, we're focusing on tech debt, and then the first thing you do is delete Mysterio. That rocks. Like, it's like, true. I can see that you are focusing on tech debt.
Clearly.
Let's get this guy out of here. Mysterio getting cleared out of here. 50% of the bugs in the game just disappear overnight, right? Great job. What I loved about the new Mysterio is it maintains a lot of the weird bullshit interactions, like the Luke Cage Shadow King stuff, which is just so very obviously the thing to do with the card, right? So like what you do is you have a Luke Cage, you show allow Mysterio, you swap the power. That's basically 2 show allow procs, right? It's dope, right? That's awesome. It's so funny that works. Like it is an incredible. It's one of those things that makes you wonder how good they actually are. Because I feel like this is like a level of good that is inhumanly good. To be like, okay, not only did we make a Mysterio that keeps the 3-card Monty style gameplay of Mysterio, we also made him kind of buggy with it, but not in a way that will crash the game. But
it's not
Mysterio
buggy, though.
is buggy using as like a shorthand for like non-intuitive interactions. We put some weird bullshit in here so he would still feel like Mysterio, basically. And it's like, I feel like that's an accomplishment. I feel like if you managed to create a new Mysterio and you're like, okay, what are the core elements of Mysterio? 1, 3-card Monty, 2, weird bullshit. And it's like, like, I don't know if they just sort of accidentally ended up there or if it was purposeful, but if it was purposeful, this is one of their best designs they've ever done. I would have said Mysterio is a very difficult card to rework because people like multiple things about him, but they really kept a lot of the things people like about Mysterio in this card. And the only thing to dislike about it is specifically I liked one specific previous interaction that doesn't work. So something like, I was going to play this with new Gambit, or I play it with Mockingbird, or I play it with, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That
I think.
that's kind of the only reason to dislike this. From a pure design perspective, I feel like this is like 95 out of 100. Like if I was grading this on a test, this is an unbelievable piece of work. One of the best that I think they could have possibly done.
It's like they took all of the good idea of here, let's reimagine what a card can do, and just dumped it into both sides of Mysterio and just said, you know what, before we do the Mysterio change, we need more good. Let's take it from Ghost and all of the effort we would have put towards that rework and then reassign it to go over the top with this awesome one for Mysterio, because Mysterio is awesome. So
yeah, like this is, I like when you think about the other reworks of cards they've done, this has got to be the best one, like by a margin that is astonishing. This is unbelievable work, and it's like the kind of work. When I say it's like better than human, it's like maybe they just got lucky. Maybe they just topped down to Mysterio, and they were like, let's keep the 3-card Monty around, and then they were like, oh, this does some cool stuff with Luke Cage. And it's like, all right, well, that was free, right? But I feel like that's so important to this guy. I feel like it's so important that he just has like a random BS role for no reason. That's awesome. I love that. That's kind of his thing.
I think he ends up being a card that we all just kind of went, okay, this is fun.
Yep.
But then he kind of falls off for a little while, and then later someone's going to crack, because right now, while Gambit's around, like this card is, unfortunately, is just fodder. But while New Gambit is popular, I don't think there's really too much room to mess around too much with it. However, I first did the Shou Lao, realm to try it out as like Scarlet Spider Light. And I kind of felt like it was actually worse than the Scarlet Spider builds, because you then needed to have Luke Cage to really do the thing you wanted to do. And
my gut would be you were probably hybridizing it incorrectly. Like, can I just ask, were you doing it in the ongoing shell or outside of the ongoing shell? Like
outside of the ongoing shell.
Like that, because like the ongoing shell is the one where it's like seriously apparent what's going on here. Like once you get like Moonstone Captain Carter going, it's not like he'll give the power to them, but it's just like you care a lot more about having an extra body. And that deck was already running basically Sam Wilson to be an extra body that was like a 2/5 to 2/7 with no additional synergy between anything that was going on there. So if you get to replace that with Mysterio, even though you're adding a Luke Cage instead of like the Hope Summers, you just get sometimes like, oh, I didn't draw Maverick, I have a free version of Maverick, right? Like it's additive in that way to that deck. Luckily for everyone, that deck is one of the decks that is hardest hit by Gambit, which is probably where we have to censor the conversation, because like this OTA, not a lot of changes. The patch outside of Mysterio, not a lot of changes. Gambit, on the other hand, big change to the metagame. And I can't tell how much credit to give them on this, because if they correctly predicted, we think Gambit is going to be a really big deal. We think it's going to be really good against Shou Lao, so we're not going to nerf a bunch of stuff right now. We're going to let this play out a la the Mr. Burns has every disease scenario and just see what happens and get 2 weeks of information and then make decisions, right? If they saw that coming, that's really good. If they didn't see that coming, they got really lucky. Either way, it worked out for them. I'm willing to give them that 2 weeks grace period here where it's just like, yeah, no, it probably would actually be incorrect to go whole hog on nerfing Shou Lao or something like that in a world where he's getting kicked in the face by Gambits repeatedly.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what's like, I'm not even sure. This is going to sound like a weird sentence. I'm not even sure Gambit is good. Like
it's not a weird sentence at all, because I felt very similarly. My assessment of the card was, this is fun, this is cheeky, and everybody's they're maxing it right now. They're like, let me get as many possible versions of this out there. Let me Prodigy it. Let me get a second copy with Bastion. And just blow up the board. And that's great for right now. And it feels really good as a control element to many of the Shou Lao style decks. But then simultaneously, I mean, you go and take a look at some of the streams that are happening, and you listen to the community and you realize everyone's already shifting. They're like, oh, just go play ramp.
Yeah.
We're going back to the ramp, and not even the Doom version. Yeah. Like just go back to straight up classic ramp again.
Yeah. It's a typical sort of new card thing, but like the metagame impact of the card is undeniable because as long as people are maxing out on Gambits, you beat Invisible in first steps. So Iska, gone. Yep. As long as people are maxing out on Gambits, you beat on Show Lao unless they are really, really like literally playing the card armor, which maybe they should be doing. We'll talk about that later. I know W is doing that right now. You're beating on Show Lao. You're beating on Show Lao hard. Probably more than any other deck, you're beating on Show Lao. Like that's the biggest thing about this deck is like if you get like 3 Gambit procs, they don't have cards. They're just not playing cards. There are no cards on the board. Yep. And that's a pretty meaningful thing. It's especially meaningful in the context of both the ongoing Show Lao deck and the Batroc Show Lao deck. Batroc probably the deck that is hurt the most by this guy. Batroc just dies. If you play Valentina Gambit, Valentina card, game's over. We're done here. Like your whole thing is these 2-cost scalers. They get blown up. They're obliterated. Even Ramp has these 2-cost scalers, by the way. So it's not like Gambit is a bad thing against Ramp. It's just like you don't want more than one. Usually, right? Like it's like a pretty good card if I'm going to play a 3/3 and blow up your chamber. I'm happy with that. Like that's chill by me. But a lot of the all-in decks just like really roll over to card that is 5 cost. Like you're just like, oh, yeah, I'm dead. My bad. So it's good. Like this is shifting the metagame in a meaningful way. And it's just like, we've never had a card that's this kind of power level that's this polarized. I just don't think we have. And I know people are going to be like, Star-Lord. But no, this guy's more polarized than Star-Lord. Or at least more obvious that he's polarized than Star-Lord. Because he just tells you what to do if you want to beat him. Like, if you want to beat Star-Lord, everyone killed me for saying you could beat Star-Lord by, like, you know, doing 75 different things. It's that gif of the guy pointing at the whiteboard and like, this is all you have to do to beat Star-Lord, right? It's that. Right. Everyone killed me for that because, like, that's not a normal accessible thing. Gambit, that's accessible. You can beat the shit out of this guy if you like. Yes. You can absolutely put this guy in the trash can. And so you have a card that is astonishingly good against one class of decks, astonishingly unplayable against the other class of decks. And, you know, at least it's doing something. At least the thing it's astonishingly good against is Show Lao. Could have been way worse. Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the 2-cost scalers too, because that was my immediate impression with the card, where I'm like, okay, let's start going to ramp. So I go into with a standard ramp deck, and the first time that my Moon Dragon was blown up, I'm like, oh, we're completely changing this. And I built 2 decks just to combat Gambit at that moment, because I kind of felt like if you're going to try to combat it, you got to do stupid stuff. You got to do really, really stupid stuff. So you do ramp. Like I was doing ramp like this with this like Electro, Luna Snow, Wave, and Magic. Those are all my 3 costs. I have no 2-cost scalers. And then I have Star-Lord as a 4. So if it blows up, woohoo. But Man-Thing Lady Deathstrike was my absolute savior. Absolute savior. It is such a great alternative for so cheap, especially if you're only getting like 1 Star-Lord proc. The value on Man-Thing, because it's not really hitting most of your cards when you're stacking it up. It's mostly hitting.
I don't have any objections to like what this is so much as my objection is like, I'm pretty sure it's illegal to call this a ramp deck, and I'm pretty sure it's illegal to like
it's
like
an
brother,
idea.
just play Star-Lord. Like just play Star-Lord.
It's mixing into the idea of what ramp likes to do, and this has a little bit more control in it with Man-Thing, Lady Deathstrike, and Magneto. This was one of the directions I went. And it worked, you know, and it's been helping me, and I've been climbing with it, and I'm having fun with it. Is it the best deck? Not in any way, shape, or form, but it's how I feel like I have to combat the meta. The other way I was combating it was playing Nomura, because I was able to do an armor in one lane, a Mystique in the other. Armor, Colossus, all of those are there, and then
hell yeah, brother,
and then just build up the middle lane and do all the Nomura shenanigans, and it was working. Like that's what you have to do.
It works, but like, that's not what you have to do. That's sort of the thing. Like you're like when you present it like that, it's like, this is how far out of the way I have to go. You don't have to do that. You just play Star-Lord. You just play negative Star-Lord. You can just play normal ramp. But like, I got my chambers blown the fuck up all the time. It's like, I don't care. Like, what happens if you don't have the Gambit? Then I have a 2/10. All right, you blew up my chamber. I don't give a shit. I play Galactus and a Fin Fang Foom. Good luck.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like, if I wanted to exclusively just only focus on win. Yeah, I mean, you just play negative Starlord and call it a day. But as a content creator and as someone who just doesn't like playing that deck, not even for the content purpose, I look for, okay, what else can I do? Where else can my brain go? And that's exactly where my brain went to first.
Just objecting to the like framing, right? Which is like, here's what we have to do to beat Gambit. And my point is actually, it's way easier. Like you're the guy with you're the guy with the whiteboard.
It's a
down.
method.
You're like, look at all this. Like,
yes, it is 100% a method to take down the Gambit stuff. Is it the easiest method? No, but it's a method so I didn't have to play the easiest method.
You're a hipster.
100%.
I get it. You're allowed to be a hipster. That's okay. Gambit. This sounds ridiculous, right? But it is the Mr. Burns theory of the metagame. It's definitely a better metagame after Gambit. Like it is.
Burn it all down.
Like actually is.
It's nice to see people being scared of a card, and not for the reasons of it's going to happen. Like when you're scared of Show Lao, it's because you see Maverick on 5, you know what's coming, right? Like, and there's this impending doom feeling. Gambit's completely opposite, where you potentially know it's going to happen. If they fulfill the condition, it's still not guaranteed that it's going to hit the things that it needs to hit to win the game at that moment. So if you're playing what we'll call the not responsible, like a calmer version of a deck. Like High Evo Starlord is the version of Starlord. I don't have a word for that. Yes.
I don't have a bad.
No.
What you're referring to is less all in. But
no, but there's I don't have a word for it. You've used the word for it. An honest style. Sure. Like if you're doing an honest Gambit deck and you're going for one Gambit, sure. Totally fine and accessible. It's when you start going all in, and that's what most people are doing right now. Just like we did with Starlord. You're min-maxing in the first week and you're trying to figure out how many do I really need to go with.
I want to push back. I'll push back on specifically that comp because like while it is true aesthetically, we are doubling this card. I don't think it's true in a different sense, which is Starlord stuff actually was the best way to play it, and I am not convinced that this all-in Gambit shit is. like after a couple of days of Starlord, it was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure doubling this is correct. After a couple of days of Gambit, I'm like, maybe I'm just putting one of these in a V hand. The honest versions, I think, might actually win out over time.
I think that going to 2 is safe and feels fine and is okay. I think anything trying to max that any further is unnecessary.
Right. It's why the V-hand thing fits, because you're already playing a couple of ways to duplicate stuff. And so it's like, I can free roll this, right? As opposed to like the all-in Gambit decks, when you go all in on a card like Gambit, you are going all in on his strengths and his weaknesses. So what happens is you end up winning the matchups that you're favored in more and losing the matchups that you're unfavored in more. If you're playing all in Gambit and you run into any of your unfavored matchups, you are not winning that unless you pivot into doing whatever your backup plan is.
Right.
But like the thing is, just having Gambit in your V-hand deck already puts you in a pretty good position against Show Lao decks. And so that's like the thing where it's like, are we over indexing for like cool stuff? Where with Starlord, it's like, no, we're not over indexing. With Gambit, I think it's very plausible we are.
That's fair. I meant it more in the sense of like, in the first week of a card release, people want to test the limits of it. They want to see, is it worth it to do it once and say that this qualifies as good enough? Or is it worth it to only go all in on it? Like we kind of went through that with Invisible in First Steps as well, where everyone was like, here, let's go ahead and go all in on it. But then we've also found these more honest versions that like the Doom 2099 deck. You can play that just with that and only get it to proc off once as it is. And it does enough. Like we go through that ebb and flow. I agree. The Starlord deck is, Starlord is get this to happen multiple times. Just please. That's the whole goal.
He's uniquely that kind of card where like, right. I think using him as an example is a little bit hard because of how uniquely a card like that he is. But I also think Gambit's just an incredibly unique card. Like I said, like I don't think we've had a Gambit in Marvel Snap before. Like I can't think of a card that was like this in a way where it's like if you were like, what's Star-Lord like? Oh, he's like Mr. Negative. Yeah. Like I can make that comp. I don't know if I have a comp for Gambit.
I think almost the closest thing I could maybe say would be Cosmic Ghost Rider, because when people started playing Cosmic Ghost Rider, the way that they played and their strategies changed because they now knew that they had to have these cards in the back line, which means my orders play differently, which means scalers work out differently. My ongoings don't want to be in the front lane. My Dracula doesn't want to be in the front lane. Like that's kind of where I think
you're onto something. It's not CGR. You know what it is, though? It's Shang-Chi. Oh, I can't play anything that's that big. Better change my entire deck about it. It's the opposite.
Like
it's that
stopping
it's
at the 9 threshold parameter that we used to be at.
Yes, that's the closest thing. I don't think it's CGR because CGR is general enough and like it's not specific enough to have obvious things that just like beat the living hell out of it.
Yeah.
But I think Shang-Chi, where it's just like, nice Shang-Chi, my whole deck is 9 power. That's I think the logic you use to get CGR gets you to Shang-Chi, and I think that fits.
It's a great control element card that fits not just into V hand. I do think that it does end up resting more also back in Cerebro 3 with the Bastion build.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, you know, and I'm still trying to figure out how to make that one really feel like this is maybe in the future better, because I keep getting stuck at that just the Bastion line exclusively. If you go 3-4, sure, you can get everything down and then you can make things work, but it's really tough otherwise. And until we figure out that next step, that makes it a little easier. I know you've talked about Merlin being a great filler for that position.
I don't know if it's great, but it's definitely like, that's really interesting.
Right, because it gives the extra one costs and those count as created and it feeds into that. I feel like there's probably something easier, and a Sentinel helps, but one more card, like it's one card away, in my opinion, from being like, oh, this is the new best version of C3. Keep an eye out for this because it has this extra control element into it, which is something I want to ask about is with this card and the results of watching what happened in Golden Gauntlet and looking at the meta as of recent. Is it weird to think that there's a world where you could almost say that Shadow King died?
It's not that weird. I think that happened 2 months ago.
Like we went through this meta of we went through this world of we need catch-alls, right? We had Shang-Chi that used to be the catch-all. Then we went into Shadow King that used to be the catch-all. And now we're fully in the Cosmo being right now competing with Supergiant for being the best catch-alls right now. And I'm kind of like, okay, what happened to Shadow King? Is he officially gone? And I do think we have to recognize that only because end of turn is getting more and more and more prevalent. And I feel like the only way you play Shadow King now is if you're also using Supergiant.
I agree with the second half of that sentence. Shadow King is like kind of just a Supergiant card. But the reason he disappeared was Sholau. Sholau was just better at throwing priority than anything that was doing Shadow King stuff. And we quickly realized that it was really bad to be playing Shadow King in your Sholau deck, because you're playing Shadow King on 6 in your Sholau deck, you're not playing Sholau, which means you're probably losing. And so that's the big thing that like pushed Shadow King way far down from where he was, is just like, there's a guy whose whole power is green power, and Shadow King kind of sucks enough of the time against him if you're not Supergianting that you kind of just end up screwed, because those decks are so easily able to include Cosmo and all the other stuff I already mentioned. It's just like, oh, you aren't even helping anymore. And that's why Shadow King ate it. And it also just like isn't very good against Star-Lord. It ate it in those matchups. And like when you talk about a card being a catch-all, there's got to be a deck for it, right? Like, what's the deck? And the deck that Shadow King was like mostly carried around by was Victoria Hand, which died horrendously when the metagame shifted the way that it did. And so, yes, Shadow King stocks dropped, but they dropped because of like larger market performance factors that were unrelated to Shadow King specifically. He's exactly as good as he was in the abstract, but in practice, the things you're going to be playing against are better against him. And so he's less worth doing unless you can super giant him so that he actually works against the Sholau.
Yeah, I think it leads into the conversation surrounding W's deck and the performance at Golden Gauntlet, because that combo, it was one specific interaction that like brought to me all of this like, oh man, why did I never consider that to need to be a duo that now basically has to be played together, Supergiant and Shadow King.
Was it the one that we totally beefed on the broadcast? Because I got to tell you, man,
No.
I that one, what I missed on that was even stupider than you think. Like, you're going to be like, oh, he didn't know the interaction. I knew the interaction. I forgot that he played Supergiant on 5.
Yeah.
It's worse. It's just worse. It's actually just worse.
But that's what I forgot.
Not like, oh, I couldn't dredge this interaction up out of the depths of my memory. I couldn't see the card in the middle lane in front of my face and process the implications.
It's okay, because I didn't see it either. / didn't remember that they just played it. And it's not like we just casted like, okay, he drops a Supergiant on 5. Not like that happened at all either. That's not what I was going to refer to, because that was actually going to be the point I was going to get to afterwards. But the point I was getting to now was there was a later match where he played Supergiant on 5. Iska was in the right lane already at 6. And then on turn 6, he played the Shadow King. Iska didn't scale. And then the Shadow King went off afterwards to clear out the Iska. And it was watching that interaction play out on stream that in that moment, I realized this is a forever pair now. These two cards almost always need to be played. Well, correction. Let me put a caveat on this by saying Shadow King needs Supergiant. Supergiant doesn't need Shadow King.
I'm just going to say I'm uncomfortable with the idea of saying forever in anything in a game that changes.
You know what I mean, though.
I know what you mean, but I'm not going to put my name behind that one. That's one of those ones where it's like someone's clipping this, and then like when they change what both cards do, you're getting owned on the internet.
Engagement, baby. Take it.
Like it's I made my first actual engagement bait post today. Like where I actually was like, I should leave something off here so the people in the comments have something to talk about. It was the political compass one. I think I've made this joke before, where it's like a Marvel Snap political compass, where the right wing ones are all the cards that have the word right in their text, and the left wing ones are all the ones that have the word left in their text, and then the centrists are like Miss Marvel. And so like that's the premise of the gag, right? And I left a couple off on purpose so people could in the comments be like, where would so and so go? And it worked. And they are doing that. It worked. I've never done, like, my entire life as a content creator, I have never intentionally done something slightly subpar to get someone to react. If I ever say that I did, I was coping. I messed that up like 100%. Yeah. I don't think I've ever said that I did. I think I've been pretty open about like, no, I'm not engagement baiting. Yeah. I'm just wrong. Like you can't be honestly wrong about some shit anymore. It's always, oh, you're baiting. I'm not baiting shit. I'm just wrong. Now this, I did intentionally leave Sentry off. I did do that. That was a thing that I thought about. It was intentional. I did not, on the other hand, intentionally leave Mr. Fantastic off. I did authentically forget about him. That said, for the first time ever, I was like, all right, this one's for the comments. There you go.
I haven't seen the post, so did you put Zorn in there? Sorry, no, not Zorn. Who is it? Topaz.
I have Topaz in there. Yeah, she's in the centrist.
There you go.
Zorn was one that I left off partly because confusing and partly because like I don't know, average American swing voter, who can say, you know? And then the punchline of the whole joke is Galactus is like absolute monarchy. Like that, yeah, because you see the, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I haven't seen, I'm curious to go read those later, but I feel like I've made this exact joke before, but there are so many more cards I can actually make the joke with now. Like, think about how many new cards there are that say left and right in it. We got Zombie Power Man.
Where does
It used to
Starhawk
just
go?
be Claw. He was in the center. He's a swing voter. It used to just be... Yes, it used to just be like Claw and like Heimdall. Those are the people I could make this joke with. But now we have so many more options.
Yeah. Sorry, in my head, I just went through this whole like Starhawk stupid joke, like progression.
Yeah, Starhawk
of like
Starhawk is Ken Bone. Shout out Ken Bone. Anyone remember that guy?
Not this guy. Because you said swing voter, and I was like flip flop. And then I went, oh, there's probably a Havaianas joke in here for those who even know what that is. And then
what is that?
It's a brand of Brazilian flip flops, which it's like the number one export next to like coffee out of Brazil. And then I started laughing in my head because in Brazil, you don't call them flip flops, you call them flippy floppies, which is just 10 times better.
That is awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But
I didn't realize Brazil was ghost written by the Lonely Island.
Yeah. Oh, you don't even like when Brazilian Portuguese decides to take American words or American labels or terms or whatever, it just adds E at the end of it. And it's fantastic. Like Facebook is Facey Bokey.
That actually does rock. That's so cool. That's sick as hell, dude.
If you're going camping, it's Becky Pecky. Your laptop is your lappy toppy. Like,
this is so cool.
I'm 100% legitimately serious. And I'm not trying to intentionally steal. There's a comedy skit that somebody's done about this that breaks this down also, but it's a legitimate thing. And I've gone, because my wife is an English teacher. So we talk about the mixing of the languages and translanguaging all the time. And I'm going on a tangent here, but it's always interesting as I go back and forth to think of these random things and go, how can I make this Americanized and Englishized so my audience understands how amazing it is that Sprite is just Spritey and it's so good.
Like, I generally envision this podcast as the Marvel Snap podcast where I don't go on tangents. I do. Okay.
I get that. Yeah, you do.
That said, linguistic stuff, any day of the week. Any day of the week, I'll be like, hell yeah, I love hearing about this. I love language stuff. It is so cool.
I do too. It was something I used to do when I worked for Disney. I helped pilot the what used to be the minivan program, which is like Disney Lift, on property Disney Lift. And we set up their programs. And one of the things I used to do when I would take turns driving is I would interact with the guests that I'm bringing across property. And my whole goal was just by listening to them, if they're American, try to figure out within a 1-state radius, where are they from? That was my favorite
easy ones
game.
and a couple of hard ones.
Mm-hmm.
That was what
really
I really
fun.
like about languages is like translating. People think it's like an exact thing. And there are certain things where it is an exact thing, right? Where it's like, oh, what is your word for a tree? Right? Okay. But there's also like sub meanings and things conveyed in those that are basically impossible to translate accurately and require you to like understand cultural context and things like that. And that like you see it a lot in gaming spaces, even like if I say boomer snap.
Yep.
What does that mean? Like there's a lot of
snappy
things.
Yeah, no, it's just, it doesn't equate the same way.
Right. And it doesn't convey the same thing probably to anyone who doesn't have the sort of culture of boomer dominance that you would have in America. Right. Like, I don't even know if that cultural concept translates to other places that don't have, 10 years of people making okay boomer jokes. It wouldn't translate in the exact same way. And a lot of places do have that, but maybe they don't have a specific word for it, right? Maybe it's just like their word for old person and it conveys a different thing.
That's literally what I just said in Portuguese. Yeah. Snap of the old guy.
The baby boom happened in America, so that is specific to us. And it's like, it's Actually, I'm fairly certain the baby boom also happened in other countries, but you understand what I'm saying. Like
I'm following.
The American, yes, like it's just like there's like little bits of cultural context that get lost when you translate literally. And even though they cover, snap of the old guy, it covers it.
Yeah.
But like in 80 years, if you never learned the context, that bit is lost, right? And that's just watching languages do that is cool as hell to me.
Yeah, agreed. And now that we've brought it full circle with Boomer Snap, let's talk about.
I got the hook. It's right there.
You did really good with that one. Let's talk about the Boomer of Snap Night right now, W, because yes, our current Golden Gauntlet champion with that Ronin deck, and W, I know W.
That's my guy.
I mean, I'm so happy for him just because I personally know him, but more so I'm happy to see someone who is so experienced in this game and has put so much time into the competitive scene, has been playing in every possible tournament that has ever existed, the smallest community, but he's always been there. And then to see him several years later come to an event with a deck that is that old comparatively, like Series 3, Series 4 cards. Most of those cards have been around in the game for a really long time. I think the newest card is Cannonball Mercury, right? Like Cannonball,
Mercury,
I think. Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, it was Mercury now. Yeah. Like still, what is that, a year ago? Like to see him assess a meta and not immediately have to go, new cards are most important. Go for no. He really understands the whole game and built that deck and ran with that deck, I should say.
I think you're giving him a little too much credit here, and I'll tell you why. I recorded an interview with him. It's going to drop Saturday. It was originally supposed to drop Tuesday, but they did a patch, and I was like, shit. Now I have to do this video instead. So I messaged him. I was like, we got to delay it for NDA reasons. Like, I can't tell you why I got to delay this, but I got to delay this. But the video, he talks about like what his testing process was. And it turns out he saw Glenn Jones's tweet and was like, oh yeah, Supergiant exists. That's it. Like it was just like he saw Glenn Jones tweet about Supergiant. He's like, oh yeah. I should probably play some Supergiant. Yeah. And that's pretty much what went down there. I mean, like I love to see a Boomer winning. My alliance is named the Unction because the only people left in it are old as dirt. Myself included. I really enjoy the sort of Gen Z thing of like, you turn 30, there's no difference between you and being 55 years old. Like you hit that 30 and it's like, all right, man, you're checked out.
As the guy who's almost 40, I'll say confidently, there is definitely a difference between 30 and 40. There's absolutely a difference.
I have no doubt, but like you ask a 19-year-old, they'll probably tell you 26. Like 26.
Yeah, 26, you're dead. Like it's just, they might as well retire at this point. It's just go to Palm Springs, man. It's done.
just call it in, man. How's your back, brother? Like,
don't even get me started there. But like that in my knees. God. No, like W, even if he saw that tweet and says, okay, Supergiant, this is the way to go, my brain would still want to try to figure out, like, you very often get stuck into like a recency bias where you start thinking about the cards that you just acquired. What are the new cards, the new shiny things that make the meta what it is today? And very often you kind of put certain cards by the wayside unintentionally, just because you're trying to figure out what your meta read is right now. And I know I'm guilty of it all the time.
Not to suck myself off too hard, which is what I say right
just take before. Out a rib first there, Marilyn, but go on.
Like there's two things here. The first is, even if you don't think I count in this group, it is true. For good players, that like mostly isn't true. Like they'll have blind spots, but like mostly they understand the context of the metagame and like what matters into it and what decks are pretty good against that thing. And it's not infallible, just like more likely, right? The second thing though is that in my review where I was rating all these cards from 1 to 5 stars. At the end of my review, I specifically say, I think in 1 to 2 weeks, Supergiant is going to be really good. The stocks are going up because it's really good against Star-Lord already, and it's going to be really good against Iska, and it's really good against Sholau. So Glenn posted that orb. He posted like, oh, I predicted this. You know, I said Supergiant was the best deck and it won. All I'm saying, Glenn, is that I said it before the cards that made it good even came out. That's all I'm saying, is that I'm smarter and better than you. That's all. I'm only saying that I should have your job. That is all. That is the minimum of what I'm saying. I'm only saying that they should fire you and replace you with me. That is all that I'm saying.
How does it feel to know that you've just filmed your last video with Glenn Jones? Just out of curiosity.
My impression of Glenn is that he would understand that there is potentially a chance that I was joking, and that then I could parlay that understanding into tricking him into thinking that I was joking, which I was not. I was fully 100% serious and would never joke about something like that.
Which is when Glenn reads it 4 layers deep and even heard that statement and knows what's true underneath it.
Yeah, it's impossible to say. Surely I actually think this. This is like, if you actually try to make me give a disclaimer about this one, I'm just going to assume that you think our fans are dumb as dirt. Like, if you actually push me on this, I'm going to say it's on you. I'm going to say you hate our fans. Like, that's...
And that's fine. That's not where I'm going. I just love the relationship between the two of you. That's why. So
I don't know that we have much of a relationship. Like, I just trust that he's smart enough to get jokes.
No, I mean, in the sense of like, obviously you and Glenn have spoken a lot over the last several years, like been able to learn a lot about the game. Yeah, learn a lot about the game through his eyes, adapt it to your own, you know, anytime I see, even in the creator chats, being able to see an interaction between the two of you, it's interesting to see then sometimes those lessons get applied in later content because it's now become a part of your psyche. And
no, I really genuinely, I treat interacting with him as a chance to learn and get better at a thing that maybe is a potential future career path for me. Like, I don't want to you know, I don't want to be presumptuous, but it's obviously something I'm interested in. And so every opportunity I can get to talk with someone who is a professional in the field, it seems like a no-brainer to take it seriously, right? Like, I had Glenn on, but it's not just Glenn. It's Matt Place over at Once Upon a Galaxy. It's Brian Gottlieb over at Flesh and Blood. Like, these are people that I talk to, and I talk to fairly seriously occasionally, like very rarely, I would say, late for the other two, a lot less commonly. But it's like, these are people who I've had on my channel, and it would be very stupid of me for me to not take that as an opportunity to learn from them, because they are very successful in a field that is very interesting to me.
It'd be interesting to kind of see, not even just from yourself, but if maybe it's something that we do, you know, work with the other creators as well and say, hey, just simply everybody take what you know about Marvel Snap and in full seriousness, design one Marvel Snap card. Real simple, just to kind of see where people's minds, not just the ability, but the connection to the lore, what card it is, you know, and I know a lot of the members of the community, obviously they do this as well. They find, you know, their own versions, they make their own versions. There's websites out there to make your own cards too. Like, and everybody comes with unique ideas.
I'll tell you why I don't do that and why I've always strayed away from it is because other card games, you never want to see a fan card, because if you're the person making the game and you see a fan card and then you use a similar concept, they might have legal action. And not that they would win the case, but it presents liability. Like, just the fact that they could. So, like, as far as I'm aware, it's very common in, like, say, Magic the Gathering, for people to be like, look, if you're going to do this here, I can't be here. I can't look at custom cards. It is not something that is like that my job would want me doing. Right. I have always strayed away from it for those reasons, because I have devs on my channel. I'm fairly sure that there's not a lot of plausible deniability if they watch my content, you know? So I don't want to put them in a situation where it's like, yo, you definitely saw this on KM's channel. You definitely saw this, right? Like, I don't, it's part of why I always stray away from that, even though I think it would be a good idea. I would love to do, like, I probably, honest to God, have to ask them, like, is this going to screw you over? Like, well, it is one of the reasons where it's like, I do sort of want to do it. It's just like, I don't want to put them in any kind of jeopardy.
That's where I think you do it, though, in conjunction. Like, I could see us reaching out to the creator program, because it would be conversations exclusively under NDA. It's already under the, NDA contract of being in the creator program, and say, here's what the purpose of this is. It's for a piece of content. And then everyone makes a card, and then we present these cards to the developers, not to actually make the cards, but for them to then look at the card and say, from a development point of view, how do they analyze when people bring things to the table? Like, because
that would be awesome. Like, it's what I tried to do with the video with Glenn, but like, I can't, like, it's why I did it in an OTA context, because I'm pretty sure every design, every idea, every character, every mechanic would then be not impossible for them to use, but drastically harder. So like, by pitching that, you have made it less likely to happen. By making the card you think is cool and bringing it to the devs, you have said that they now can't use this without worrying about legal action. And I know it sounds insane.
No, but you're wrong, though.
Not wrong. I'm not wrong.
No,
the NDA doesn't cover that. The NDA doesn't cover IP.
Does.
It doesn't cover IP.
Coveted conversations and official content that happen in the Discord, in those channels, any of the conversations that happen in there are owned and able to be repurposed in any potential manner by Second Dinner. So yes,
but
they
you're suggesting
would be
we make
able
content
to do that.
Out of this. We can't make content out of that.
Marvel Snap, the official channel, not our channel.
Yeah, I still think that it's just like my larger perception of this is the legal issues around it are thorny. And if I have a path that involves a thorn, and if I have a path that it does not involve a thorn, I don't really see the upside in going into the thorn's path.
Right.
I
just want to be a fly on the wall. I'd love to be able to hear how a dev looks at an idea for a Marvel Snap card, because you look at a card like Gambit and you go, this is a really cool objective, really cool mechanic. And then picking Jules's brain saying, okay, how do we take this out of the parameter of on reveal, out of the parameters of, what we had previously? How does objective allow us to do this and get to that extra step further? And then to say, here's a different idea. Where does your brain go as a developer first when thinking about game mechanics? And hearing through that process is something that I know I would be really interested in, because I'd love to know not just about, the cards themselves necessarily, or only when we happen to get a new mechanic in the game. Yeah, sure. It's great that we get to have this type of conversation, but like, what inspired them to think of something as simple as Dragon Lord versus something as complex as new Gambit? Like that, right, like, I'd love to learn.
That's fascinating stuff. I would love to learn that stuff too. We should have asked that, probably.
We probably should, but
I think that, again, like you talk about paths, right? There are multiple paths to getting that kind of understanding. You don't have to go down the thorny path to it. You know what I mean? Like, we could have just asked that and didn't. Yeah. We could have just asked, like, hey, how do you try to mitigate complexity on these kind of things? Which I think we do have a pretty good understanding of. They mitigated complexity by making them all pretty easy to happen. It's like a reasonable thing, right? Like, one of the questions I wish we'd asked is, what did you learn from Activate? That's one I really wish we'd asked. That's one of the ones where it's like, I really wish I had that answer.
I'll tell you confidently, I wouldn't have used the clip, because any clip that allows any question that allows them to talk down about something would not make sense to put on official content. Even if it was from a learning opportunity, the framing around that's incredibly important. So like taking the Activate thing, if you spun it a different way, you can take that exact same question for official content and make that work. If you said something along the lines of, when you left Activate and you took all of those lessons learned, what was the one thing you wished Activate could do that it couldn't do that led you to Objective?
Yeah.
Like that framing, that works.
I buy that. It's just like, yeah, I think a lot of people fixate on like, I want to do the whole thing of designing a card.
Mm-hmm.
They fixate on like, you know, I want to give you this design. It's like a fully finished product. And they don't sort of like build the concepts to understand what they're doing. And so it's like, my big worry with any content involving it is that like a lot of the times you see something in a custom card is because that person really likes that character or they really like that effect.
Very often.
And I'm visible enough that if I did something like that, I really do think it would carry the attendant risk of making those things less likely to happen. Because it's not necessarily about like, oh, someone's going to sue if they got a design that's like really similar to something in a video that I did, right? It's that even the thought of it happening is enough to discourage the behavior that could even generate that kind of liability.
Right. I guess
I just like, I understand it, but it just seems like there is one specific avenue of learning about dev stuff that is really obnoxious for them. So for me, it just seems like way more straightforward to be like, I'm going to stay out of that shit. Like it's just like I'll do everything else. I'll have them on to ask about OTA changes and rate all of that stuff. I'll have them on everything else, but I am never going to pitch them on a card when me pitching them on a card makes that card less likely to happen. It is not going to happen.
I guess I'm just optimistic in the sense of if that conversation were to happen in official Discord and official threads, official settings that they own. Yeah. You know what you're signing up for if you're submitting a card under that pretense saying, yeah, I'm submitting an idea to be a part of this content, but they now own this idea. If you know that,
I think that would require like an actual signature. You know what I mean? Like, I think that like, you can't do that like handshake. Like you have to sign it. You have to sign something. You're going to have to sign a legal document, not just the NDA, like an explicit one carving this out. And it's like, okay, Second Dinner, go pay your lawyers to write this up so we can do content. Like they're just not going to do it, right? Like it's the barriers. Like that's sort of the thing. It's like there's like this whole area is so thorny because like you know me, right? The card I want in Marvel Snap more than anything else is Dario Auger, the Minotaur. I want that guy so bad. He's my favorite little like Al Ewing capitalism commentary guy. Love him. Would be phenomenal. I have never, ever gone to Glenn and be like, yo, dog, can you here's my concept for a Dario Auger. I've never done that because I'm pretty sure it would just like make it less likely to happen. Yeah. I'm not positive, but even the idea that it could is enough to discourage me from doing it.
Which I can respect. I can respect that.
Like if I want it to happen, I shouldn't do the things that make it less like. I like them too, but it's just like, it's hard. It's hard for me to be willing to take on the attendant risk. A lot of the time people dump on me. They're like, Cam, you got to stop advocating for buffs and nerfs. They watch your content and listen to you. And first of all, they may watch. I don't think they listen. Second of all, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like they understand that I represent a very specific point of view. And they're not stupid, and they know that, and they know what grains of salt to take it with, and they're not, I'm not incepting shit into their brains that they haven't thought about here. They know that, right? They know when I say, I think you should nerf this, this, and this, that I'm talking from a high infinite perspective. And they know that that doesn't necessarily matter to them. They know those things. I'm not tricking them.
Misery.
Yeah, exactly. This is a case where I think that like, I actually could influence things in a bad way. So I really try to avoid it.
So if any other content creators from the Marvel Snap Content Creator Program want in on this project, shoot me a DM in Discord because clearly KM is out and I'll deal with figuring it out with the legal side with them. Got it. All right. So
if you figure out the legal side, I'm in. But like that seems like a whole thing. I do not want to be involved unless I am signing over the rights to whatever. Like I just don't want to be involved unless like if there is an attendant legal risk, I do not want to deal with it.
There is some I am gonna intentionally bait comments for a second though, because I would be not in the way that you bait on Twitter, but like I am curious to hear people read people down in the comments outside of like what we did for Objective and the Marvel Snap season announcements, what would you actually want to see or know about that you don't know about from Second Dinner, from Marvel Snap? Like if it could be converted into an interview, a content, or something down there that you've always been curious about. Like, for example, I'd love to see a tour of the Second Dinner studio, just to see like, oh, what does the office look like? You see photos on LinkedIn sometimes, but like, that's it. Like, I'd be curious. Like that kind of behind the scenes.
90% of the company is work from home, right?
Yes, I'm aware of that, but there is an action. I know that, especially with all the people we
there
interact
is an
with.
office, but it's like here's a tour of an empty building.
It's not empty.
It's a hard
but
sell.
Like, you know what I mean, though. Like that kind of stuff, though, is what I'd be curious to see. What would the community actually want to see produced and then go watch? Because I've had this conversation with some people from Second Dinner as well, talking about like the artist profiles, right? Which you started to see in the season pass videos, and you get the highlights and they do the interviews and it's a section. And then it was proposed to me at one point, what if we did a whole video with a specific artist? And I said, my reaction to it was, it only works in one of two ways. It works as an hour-long interview talking about that person's entire history, which means it's not Marvel content. And then secondly, it works better as a clip. It works better as a short segment of a larger video. I don't feel as comfortable, and I know I'm putting myself into the ground in case if they ever do this, but it's true that to do a 20-minute interview on Marvel Snap art with anybody that isn't Ryan Kennard, like, I really don't think that holds water.
I disagree. Here's my pitch. You ready?
Sure.
Rate the cards, or anything that's like sufficiently attention grabby, right? Rate the cards with an artist using only their variants. So you get Rian Gonzalez.
That's fine. Yeah, that
I
can see.
Yeah,
that I can absolutely see.
I swear. I don't know if it goes on the main channel, but it plays. It's like what you want to do is highlight the artist by getting their awesome art on screen, and then just give them an opportunity to just, talk about stuff, right? Why accept Ryan Kennard?
Because they do pretty much all the base variants, and
right. But like, what would that bring? What would that bring to the content?
Just the breadth of repertoire in the game, and being able to look at all of those different cards and talk about the evolution of creating base variants from, beta to now, what is it like today, to then looking at like, even when you do other variants, like for example, they do some of the beach variants from a couple of years ago. You look at those. Okay, how do you approach those, but still in your style, but not have it look like a base variant? And then like there's enough variance in there with a CE, not a TS, that it would actually be able to fill a 20-minute YouTube video or a 1-hour conversation, because there's enough repertoire there. All of the different variants that, like Rian Gonzalez, for example, sure, that segment works great. But if you can't go into further detail of Rian's past, or then also telling Rian, poorly rate some of your own variants.
Yeah.
That's kind of tough, in that to me screams YouTube short. That says, hi, I'm Rian Gonzalez, and here are my top 5 favorite variants I've ever made for Marvel Snap. This dragon, this Sholau, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, that goes on the main channel, goes out to socials, goes out as ads. I can absolutely see that from a marketing perspective. 20 minutes of making that a YouTube video? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have a sort of very specific profile when it comes to like the stuff I'm willing to do, that is mostly just based on the fact that I have, for reasons unknown to me, but I am very flattered by, a very loyal audience who will just like watch me doing things. And so like that would just be a thing that would, I wouldn't say it would necessarily be like number one on my channel, but it would probably do pretty well there. Whereas on the Marvel Snap channel, I'm just not sure.
Like, it was Dan Hipp did an interview once with Cozy, like a couple of years ago, I want to say it was. And it was like a 1-ish hour. It was like 45-minute or whatever interview. And because it was on a private channel, Cozy's private channel, it's not official Marvel Snap content. They went through his whole history, and yeah, that makes total sense. Like to have somebody come on the podcast, to come on their own YouTube channel. Yeah, you can talk about all that stuff. Official content, that's where it gets really tough, where you've got these parameters you got to stay around. And that's why I say the exception for Ryan Kennard and the colorist. Oh my gosh, brain farting. They're a duo. They work together. Is
Kennard not the colorist? I thought he was the colors.
I need a base variant. Give me like Lockjaw. Eric Guerrero. Sorry, Ryan Kennard and Eric Guerrero. That duo. Like getting the two of them together that have done a billion different like combinations together. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, talking to those two together in a longer interview, I'd be interested because they've worked together for so long.
I have nothing to jump off of that with. That's just like, you're going to cut there and we're going to go into a different topic.
I'm totally okay with that. Kind of rewinding though back for a second, because we started on this tangent, which is, totally fine. We went on the tangent. We started talking about the deck with Golden Gauntlet and W and doing well with the Ronin deck. I wanted to open a conversation in regards to this very odd balance that I think we end up seeing, where because we have one end of it with Star-Lord and Gambit. And when these cards come out and you're trying to consistently max, right? You're trying to figure out what's the most I can do with this. And sometimes the max is what you should go for. Sometimes there's a little bit otherwise. But then you look at a deck that has this level of control and precision and real understanding of other decks. I wanted to talk to you about finding the value in understanding other archetypes versus understanding your deck. Because a lot of people are right now, you see the packs are out there in the Marvel Snap shop right now for that championship deck. And a lot of people are going to pick up this deck and suck with it. Not because the deck isn't good, but because the deck itself only is good if you are able to read your opponent and able to decipher what they're playing and then figure out how your deck is able to counter into that.
Well, first of all, this podcast comes out on Friday. I got an interview with W on Saturday on my channel. I encourage you to watch all hour of that. That's an hour-long interview. It will be long as hell. If you want to learn how to play the deck, there will be no better source. I am very confident in saying that. You will not find a better source than W on how to play this deck. It just won't happen. I think that there's this thing that's happened recently where it's like I've been on a play like dumb guy decks crusade. And I think a lot of people hear that and they think Cam is calling me dumb, and that's not what I'm doing. The goal of play dumb guy decks is to take the mental load off you and to put it onto your opponent, which, by the way, the player who came in second, Movi, who's incredibly impressive. He left a comment under my other podcast, other podcast that was like, I actually did this because you talked about, I played this deck because you talked about taking the mental load off me and putting it onto my opponents. And so at least some people are hearing that, but I just want to be super clear about what I'm talking about. This is a really important thing because what you are doing is minimizing the chances for your own mistakes and maximizing the chances for your opponent's mistakes.
Yep.
Bounce is a deck that can lose thanks to a decision you made on turn 3, and you won't really notice that you made that decision or that it was wrong until turn 6. Even show loud decks, you can absolutely blow it with show loud decks, especially the ongoing show loud deck, which can be really punishing if you misorder. There are a bunch of things that you can blow in a bunch of decks. Don't say it. I saw you look at the camera. I saw you do it. It's a lot easier. If you have two decks that you think are like both about the same amount of good, under no circumstances should you ever play the hard one. If you either you don't think they're about the same amount of good, or you should be playing the easier one if you are ever in that situation, every single time. And it's why I've been so big on Doom 2099, even though I think the deck isn't that good at a super high level, because a super high level player, very obvious, very telegraphed, easy to play against. I just think that level is much higher than people think it is. Like, I'm not saying there's only like 50 people in the world that are going to swing the matchups against Doom 2099, but it's a smaller number than you think. It is a much smaller number than you think, and you got to play those odds. Like, if you run into Honifer, okay, you ran into Honifer. Like, GG. It's fine.
I get it.
But most of the people you play against in a tournament like this are not going to be good enough to understand what that matchup is and why they need and why and how they're meant to target their points in order to win it. And like, I've been heavy on like right now, I think I don't even have a question in my mind. I think if you want to climb right now, Star-Lord negative is the deck to do it with. Not a question in my mind. No doubts. No thoughts, no doubts. If you want to climb, play Star-Lord negative. I think it is so good at dodging this whole show Lao Gambit interplay. They're over there punching each other, and you're just like, I beat both of you.
Yeah.
Like, I can bully snap both of you. And I don't know if you can ever snap into me. I genuinely just don't know. And that dynamic is extremely powerful. Abuse it to your heart's content. Blow people out. I think that it is so clearly an amazing thing to be doing right now that I'm actually surprised people haven't started complaining, but like, maybe give it a week. That's sort of where I'm at, where it's like, this is all really cool, really interesting. I'm a fan of how things are playing out, but if you have the chance to play an easy, good deck, you take it every single time. Negative Star-Lord is easy. It's also phenomenally powerful. Go play it. As far as the W deck, it rewards, mostly what it rewards is like, you really can't be greedy with it. A lot of the times people play the deck and they'll be like, I gotta save this Negasonic till 6. I gotta save this Maximus till 6. I gotta save this Cannonball till 6. And it's like, you can't do all of those things.
Right.
If you keep saving all those cards till 6, you're not gonna play some of them. And you need those points because you don't have many. And I think that's probably like more than like not knowing what your opponent is doing. That stuff's the stuff that's going to trip people up, because a lot of your instincts playing the deck are going to be wrong.
Well, I think that's partially what I'm talking about, though. So, for example, being able to understand your opponent's deck to be able to utilize that deck to its maximum potential. Great example of that was the Cable came on down and W inherited the Mystique. And then played Cosmo in the far right lane, and on turn 4, used the Mystique to hit the Cosmo because he had priority, thinking that specifically the negative was going to drop, or ideally that or the Star-Lord was going to drop in the middle lane, and he blocked it. And he was able to make that specific read because of the knowledge of the deck and where that board was in that moment. That's what I'm talking about, where there were several times, we even see it in the broadcasts, where he'll play the Negasonic on 4 with priority and make a great read because he understands where his opponent is already trying to set up.
But there's not a lot of like tips for that. You know, I can't just be like, oh, you do it like this. You don't, there's no commentary
I'm not asking for tips, though. No, there's
no commentary I can give other than, that's awesome.
No, I mean it. Think about it from the perspective of when you're trying to figure out the importance of understanding your opponent's deck to be able to pilot that deck to its maximum potential. Like, W's understanding of that negative deck is what allowed him to pilot that deck to victory.
Sure. But what I'm going to say is this. Don't think about that. That's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to be like, oh, I need to understand my opponent's deck. No. You need to understand your deck first. I would wager that for 90% of the people hearing this, their problem is not that they don't understand their opponent's deck properly. Their problem is that they're not playing their deck right. And yes, Supergiant is a very context-heavy deck where that does become more important. But like just basic stuff like, you're going to have to tempo a Maximus. You're going to have to tempo a Negasonic and go for a 50-50 read on that Doom 2099 because you don't win that stuff anyway. You're going to have to do that kind of stuff. And yes, all decisions are contextual, but I really do think that if you're someone who's like, I just got this deck, what the hell am I supposed to do? You need to master that deck first. You need to understand how your deck wants to play out. And I realize, because like I think the amount of people that are good enough at Supergiant that aren't good enough at understanding what their opponents are doing, I think that's a very minimal amount of people. I think a lot more people are bad at Supergiant and then also bad at understanding what their opponents are doing. And the thing you work on here is the first part and then the second part.
Yeah.
Because until you know that you're playing correctly, you can't analyze how you line up into what your opponents are doing.
I think I'm looking at it from the perspective of if someone else takes this deck on for the very first time, they get all the pieces because it's in the store, the shop, and they're like, okay, I can finally play this deck. And they start playing the deck and they're averaging, let's say it's a 50% win rate. And then they're playing it a little bit more. And then they start to get into the positive, positive cubes, positive 52%, 53%. Okay, they're doing well. To bring it to that next level, that's where then I'm looking at, okay, this is about meta knowledge. It's about deck knowledge. This is about that. How do you bring that deck from being a 50% win rate deck to a 58% win rate deck? And there's a big difference in that.
In what ELO bracket? In what ELO bracket? Like if you're rank 80 or whatever, I don't know what your metagame is going to be.
I'm speaking generically here.
Right. But like the answer can't be generic because we're talking about a deck that is greatly influenced by the context surrounding it more than most other decks, as you mentioned. Well, that context is really important then.
Let's just say,
like if you're like 53% win rate higher. Climbing up to, I think if you're like 53% win rate, you're like 53% win rate, you're going positive. I think you're just happy with that. Like I want to be super clear about this. The amount of people that need higher than a 53% win rate to climb an infinite is like under 100, maybe 200 people. Most other people are going to be fine going a little positive.
So then go the other direction then. What if it's somebody who just got this deck and they're trying to get into the 90s for the first time?
Okay, so for that person, I think it's really important for them to focus on making sure they are actually playing out their power. And I don't mean like play, not Mysterio, Maximus out willy-nilly. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
But I do mean the thing you're going to want to think about is, what is my turn 6 the entire game? What is my turn 6 if I have priority under this Negasonic? What is my turn 6 if I don't have priority under this Negasonic? How am I setting up for this? What am I doing on that final turn that is going to win me a lane? Am I worried about them blowing up, say, my face down Ronin? Are they an Eliath deck? Do I have to be concerned with that? Am I willing to be concerned with that? Am I able to be concerned with that? What are the cards that I'm going to have to move to get priority with Supergiant? Or if I don't want priority with Supergiant, which is rare but can happen, if like, let's say what you really want is like your Negasonic to hit the face down card and you're worried they're going to play another card in that lane, you need to like throw priority into the Supergiant so you can actually do that. Like it's not the most common thing, but it is real. I think that kind of stuff, honing your basic skills with the deck, is largely going to be the biggest problem for you. Your mindset with the deck is going to be a lot more about, the thing I really worry about people tunneling on is like, I got to hold, there's 2 5s in the deck, right? You're never playing both if you're holding Negasonic Maximus. That's like mistake number 1. It's like the first mistake you're going to make. And once you get to the point of being like, all right, I'm going to just go do this. I'm going to accept the fact that I'm drawing my opponent some cards. It is what it is. Like, it's not my favorite thing, but I'm willing to bite the bullet when I have to. Again, I'm not saying you should be happy, but a lot of Supergiant is getting out of thinking about how other decks play out, because it doesn't play out like other decks. And if you focus on that, I think you're going to find success even without a concrete understanding of what your opponent is doing, because you have so much generic coverage. You have Electra blowing up one drops. You have Negasonic blowing up whatever goes in that lane. You have Cosmo stopping every on reveal. You have a lot of coverage against a lot of different things if you can figure out how to apply your tools. So I think more than like, I need exhaustive metagame knowledge for this, what you need is the ability to think on your feet and plan towards a goal. What does it look like when I win this game? What does it look like based on what my opponents have played that I should be prepared for? And that's the place where metagame knowledge factors into it. But it's really just being able to be like, oh, they played an Invisible Woman. Okay, so I should be prepared for the Invisible Woman deck. And then they play a Doom 2099. Oh, it's the other one. You know, like you should have a pretty concrete idea by the time you play Supergiant what the hell you're playing against. But I don't actually think that's that hard. And even if you're wrong, a lot of your tools are strong enough or absolute no enough that you'll get away with it. And so I think it's a lot more important that you actually focus on your tools.
I guess maybe as I sit, trying out the deck and I'm piloting the deck and I look at, my current bubble, I'm in the 90s right now. I haven't finished the push and I'm sitting there going, I'm trying to go over the edge. And by turn 4, sure. Okay. It's very clear to me. This is what they're playing. I think it's also a really good metagame to be able to make those reads right now. Like we're not in a crazy metagame where there's too many generated cards, where we're not in an Arishem meta. We're not in a ridiculous meta minus, I think, Valentina right now.
I mean, we kind of are in an Arishem meta a little bit. Like I saw a lot of Gambit Arishem.
I think that's just this week. Just because of Gambit, because that will be a home
like
for that.
The other thing about Supergiant though is you got to accept like your bad matchups are really bad. Like you do not beat a deck that is like Arishem that's just like bigger. Like your worst nightmare is just like anything else playing mid-rangey with more resources than you. When you lose, it's because you get out-resourced really, really hard. Because you are a very fair deck. You're not cheating anything.
I was going to say
everything you're doing is playing the cards as Ben Brode intended. You know what I mean? There's nothing special here. And that's the biggest weakness of the deck. Like if your opponent lands a Doom 2099, you die every time. You do not beat a Doom 2099 into any 6-drop at any point. Doesn't happen. They play a Dr. Doom, you die. Like it is a very small amount of power in this deck. And there's cool things you can do. It's an interesting and interactive deck. Of all the decks that could be a really cheap deck for a new player, this is probably the worst. Like I love that it's there and that it's cheap. And I really do think they deserve praise on this for this is a deck that is extremely available if you want a really good deck. And it is also a deck that, baseline, it's going to give you some cards that you can splash. Cannonball Mercury, those go in a lot of stuff. You're not just buying cards that only go in this deck. When you go to the featured set pack, you get cards that are good. These are good ass cards that will have splash ability. In that context, it's great. In the context of pick up and play, I would have never chosen this for a starter deck in a million years.
Oh, not at all. No. Not as a starter deck. I think this deck is probably for anybody who's currently over collection level, I'm going to say 2,000, to be honest.
Yeah.
Someone who's been playing the game for a few months, you've seen quite a bit of these cards, and now you're looking to up your game an extra level. Someone who's been playing the game for under 2 months, under 3 months, maybe even like, I mean, it's great to fill out the collection. Don't get me wrong. It's a good way to use resources. It's very accessible in that sense. But for the purpose of getting the deck to play the deck, I think you need more reps of just general Marvel Snap knowledge to be able to truly make this deck do the things that you want it to do. I think you'll get stopped pretty soon on the ladder because you said something very key on this deck, which is that it's a fair deck. It's a deck that isn't focused on energy cheat. It's not a deck focused on, super reductions of it. It's just, look, card costs this, you have this much energy, make it work. And we live in a world where that's not always the case. And for the most part right now, the majority of games is factoring in some kind of energy manipulation in some way, shape, or form. So when you're that fair, you have to be precise. That's where I look at how important understanding the meta and understanding the decks that you're more likely to face and that you see most regularly, and factoring that into your decision-making process, no matter where you are on the ladder, whether it's rank 30 or level 30, it doesn't matter. Like it is what it is. Yeah. You have to understand that much to make it as precise as it needs to be, because nothing's worse than a dull knife.
It's just that, like, this deck is a fundamentals deck. That's what it is. Like, you're talking about this, like, oh, know what you're playing against. That's a fundamental. You should know that in no matter what the hell you're playing. You should be spending the entire early game being like, what is this? In fact, you should probably have some pretty good ideas after turn 1. Like, you should actually be thinking about that. My opponent skipped. What does it mean? What are the options that it means that my opponent skipped on turn 1? Well, there's Star-Lord. Maybe they're a Show-Loud deck holding 1/1. What am I thinking about in terms of that? And the longer you wait to figure out what the hell your opponent is doing, the worse off you are. Because at a certain point, you're going to want to start playing against what the shape of their game plan is. And to me, part of the reason W was so successful with this deck, even though he doesn't play too much anymore, is because it is a fundamentals deck. This is not stuff that goes away. Like, oh, I know what people are playing. Okay, I can figure that out. Oh, I know how to beat it. Like, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, I genuinely don't know how to explain this to someone that doesn't know those things.
So
like that's what I'm struggling with, is like, I don't know how to tell you how to acquire fundamental skills, because I acquired those skills in other games. I acquired those skills in Magic the Gathering. I acquired those skills in Hearthstone. I acquired those skills in Legends of Runeterra. I didn't have to acquire them from nothing in Marvel Snap. And it leaves me, I think, inadequately prepared to talk about this stuff.
It almost, well, I shouldn't say almost, but it makes me feel like for a newer player, if you're going to play this deck and you don't have the reps of history, whether it's in Marvel Snap or other games, and you just want to play the deck, it might be better to take it first and foremost into Conquest, because Conquest gives you at least the idea of starting to build that repetition of you're facing the same opponent, you're understanding their deck, and you can start making decisions based on, okay, I've learned my opponent's deck. Now I can start saying, okay, they're a Doom 2099 deck. I need to start thinking about this Negasonic from the second I draw it. And then I caught on the pattern of, oh, look, a Moondragon.
I can see that being helpful, But at the same time, the thing you want to train a lot is your recognition. So if you play one game against them, you already know what they are. Well, that's not helping you recognize things.
Well, no, it's an element to learn the deck. It's learning how to. It's one thing to make an assessment of how do I maneuver what my deck can do to that deck, which is where I talk about deck knowledge. But then there's, okay, these are the tools I have to work with. That element of, now that I know what I'm facing, what can I do with these? I have 12 of these. What do I do? It's like Apollo 13. You're trying to make an air filter right now out of a sock. How am I going to do that right now? You got to know the tools that you're working with.
Yeah, I can see it. I think it's, I think more than any other deck, I could see the argument here. I don't particularly buy it, largely because I think that Conquest, it's hard to get good competition. So you might learn the wrong things.
I can definitely see that too. That's a very valid point.
It's not like everyone who plays Conquest sucks or anything. It's just there's no guarantee, right? Like when you go into Infinite Conquest, that could be anybody. It could be literally anybody. And so if you don't want to learn things incorrectly. Like the other reason, like, can I go back to the easy decks discussion for a second?
Yeah.
Part of the reason that it's good to be like a one trick or an easy deck gamer, however it is you want to do, like part of the reason it's good to do that is because it vaults you up higher than you would naturally go. By devoting all of yourself to this, you get to a different stratosphere of player. And once you're in that group of players, that's when you start learning from them. Oh, I know what's happening here because I saw someone do this. I played a lot of this. I know what the best players do. I know what their play patterns are because I play them every time I click play.
I have a great example of this then. Jet.
Yeah.
Phoenix Force Jet. Being able to take that knowledge of that card and then later on apply it to the zombie package. And then seeing that evolution of this took this to the next level, where then you got into the conversation. You two did content together to learn about it, for you to learn the deck, to see these other lines. And now you're learning differently too. It's the one trick thing is definitely holds true, because when you become an expert in your specific thing, whatever that may be, whatever niche you want that to be, people will then all of a sudden flock to that simultaneously. And your opponents will then also say, wait a minute. I shouldn't say your opponents are saying, as you're looking at your opponents, you're saying, I know this inside and out, so I can really start assessing my opponents differently because I'm not even thinking about the interactions. I know what this is going to do. And
you can learn. Like when I say you can learn from these people, I don't mean just learn how they beat you. I mean like, oh, I played against so-and-so and they played like this. This is the line they thought was optimal. Oh, when I play that deck, I'm going to remember that. Yeah. Like that's like when I want to learn what beats a deck, I don't play a deck I think beats that deck. I play the deck I want to beat and I pay attention to what's beating my ass. Like that's what I do when I'm like, I want to beat Star-Lord. What the hell am I supposed to do? I've got no good ideas. I go play a bunch of Star-Lord. And then whatever beats the hell out of me, I'm like, that's a really good idea. Let me try that. Like that is being able to have access to that environment is the thing that's going to make you a better player. The number one piece of advice I can give you is get good enough that you're playing good people, because then you'll start learning from them. And I know that's just like it's stupid, right? Because how are you supposed to be able to do that? All I can tell you is that's what I did. I played Hearthstone. I was mid-legend. I kept playing. I kept improving. I got to be a pretty good Hearthstone player. Came over to Magic the Gathering, having already built that foundation, started hanging out with people who knew me from being a pretty okay Hearthstone player. Not great. Like I was in the top 100 most seasons occasionally, right? This is like a thing I would do. Top 200. It's not a lot to flex about. It's not great. Like it's genuinely not great. Like if I tried to mention that to Lambie series, he would literally laugh at me. This is what I'm saying. Like in a game like that, the differences are vast between someone who's actually good and someone who was like me. But I got in a conversation and then I got better at Magic. I can talk to people. I could talk to Jerry. I got good enough at Magic that suddenly I'm like, actually, what I did with Magic was I played an easy deck and I played it to rank 1. And that's how I got better at other decks. And so like I genuinely, I can't tell you anything other than what worked for me if this is your goal. And what works is doing everything you can to get to the point where you can actually learn from people who are great. Do everything you can to get to the point where you're matching against people who you respect.
It's almost like that old business mindset of it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And I think a lot of it also comes from knowledge and education in that sense too, where the only way you can learn from other people is by being surrounded by them. You have to get to those people. You have to be in the presence of those people. And
right. And ladder democratizes this. That's my point. Mm-hmm. Like what makes ladder games great for this is that it used to be like, how do I improve at Magic the Gathering? I don't have anyone in my area who's as good as I am. I can't get better. And I don't know anybody, so I can't get onto a pro testing team. So how the hell am I supposed to ever get better? Right. Ladders will put you right at the top. Even though in Magic, like part of what benefited me incredibly as a card game player was when I got good at Magic the Gathering and I was like, oh, I'm really high up these ranks. They were paying a bunch of pros to play and promote Magic Gathering Arena. So I remember like the biggest moment I had was this guy I'd been playing. I've been like, playing him a bunch over and over and over, just playing him a lot. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good player. I learned he was a pro. His name was John Rolfe. And I was like, oh shit, I'm actually learning here. Like, I didn't realize that was available to me at the time. Shout out to John Rolfe. Ladders can vary in terms of how much access to top players they give you. At the time I played Magic, that was the most access to top players that I could have ever possibly gotten. If I was a few years later, I wouldn't have gotten the same experience. But I was playing against John Rolfe. I was playing against Brad Nelson. I was playing against Brian Braun-Duin. I was playing against people who I would never have gotten the chance to play against if it were not for A, a ladder existing, and B, Wizards promoting their game that way. And I would not be the same player if I didn't get those experiences. And it might not be as profound for you as it was for me, but ladder will help you. Getting to play against good players will actually help you. You will get better at things. And you don't need friends in order to do this. You just need to get there. You don't need to know the right people. You know, like, that's what I mean. You talk about, like, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. You don't even need that anymore. Get up there and start absorbing like a sponge. And then in 2 years after you quit the game, you can come back and dominate and win a tournament like W. W is another great example of legacy card game skills, man. That guy is a peer of Kripparrian. He's like a peer of Reynad back in the day playing Hearthstone. Like, legacy card game skills, they help.
I can actually hear in the future all of the people writing in the comments who are right now going, "Hey, I'm just saying just win as the answer. Just win."
I know.
Just win. Like, how dare you?
They're right. Like, I know. Like, I'm not Magic. I can just tell you it worked for me.
That's not what the M stands for?
I was so bad at card games for so long before I started deciding to actually legitimately care and legitimately bust my ass and legitimately improve to the point where I was actually in these situations. And believe me, I have my own fair share of being embarrassing around good players. Someone had to tell me, "Hey, don't act like that. Like you'll put them off. Don't be fucking stupid." You know, like I have like, the reason it bothers me so much when I see people do that now is because I see myself in them and I'm like, that's bad. But I know it's not easy to hear someone be like, "Just win," and then you'll keep winning. I know it's not easy. If you want to be great, you need to get to the floor. And once you get to the floor, well, then you can actually start absorbing. My worry with a lot of these other game modes is you might absorb the wrong play patterns. That would be my worry. But are they really the wrong play patterns if they work for you? You know, like, as long as you don't calcify that way, as long as you remain able to change and grow, it's probably fine.
I mean, there are certain game modes that lean more toward, like, you know, high voltage. That's absolutely, you can apply all those snap skills because you just have a boatload of energy and you're just doing it in less time. Like, that you can transfer over. Sanctum Showdown, you can take lessons from it. You know, you can think about thinking a turn ahead about where the energy is going to go or where you're trying to win the lane on the next turn, not the turn that you're competing for this turn. Like, you can take lessons from it. Team Clash, you can't learn a damn thing because all the cards are fucking weird. But, like, you know, just that one messes with you so much so.
Yeah.
Maybe Deadpool's Diner, because there's no snap concern. It's just you're betting against yourself.
Can we wrap this up? I think I might be about to be sick. I kind of like launched a lot of myself into that, and I might be about to be sick.
See you next time.
Later.
Yep. That just happened.